Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Pensacola. I'm Paula Montgomery, and I'll be your service leader today. We have one announcement. As part of the adult education program, Trista Blewett will be leading a 6-month study group entitled Exploring a Spirituality of One's Own. The first meeting will be held after church on January 30th. Trista wants to remind those who will be participating to take a look at the January light for more information on the primary text that will be used and how to prepare for the first session. If you'd like more information, please feel free to reach out to Trista. Okay, did you hear that? There will be adult ed today at 1, is that right, Tom? On critical race theory, and the second chapter will be next week.
But it's on Zoom, so they need
So they need to
get a link somehow.
Yeah, that's right. That's why I was mentioning it. Laura, if you could.
Well, the link already went out in your email. You should have it, but you can.
I have it, but other people may not.
Yeah, everyone got it.
Okay, well, good.
So
If
check
you're on the email list.
Check your email for the Zoom.
If you're not on the email, talk to me.
If they don't have email, they talk to Laura.
Talk to Laura or to Tom, yeah.
If there's any problem, call Laura.
Okay, I think that we've already had our music for centering. No? Okay.
That
That's
was just a line out, so.
okay. Next, music for centering, and then we'll have the chalice. The words for the chalice lighting are by Andrew Hawkins Camper, and it's called Be About the Work. May we see all as it is, and may it all be as we see it. May we be the ones to make it as it should be. For if not, who? And if not now, when? This is the answer. This is answering the cry of justice with the work of peace. This is redeeming the pain of history with the grace of wisdom. This is the work we are called to do, and this is the call we answer now. To be the barrier and the bridge, to be the living embodiment of our principles, to be about the work of building the beloved community, to be a people of intention and people of conscience.
Good morning. It's so good to be with you and to call us into worship with these words from Sharon Wiley. They were written for Transgender Day of Visibility. We speak so often of brokenness in religious life. Let us speak today of wholeness. You are welcome here, all of you. Every part of you beautiful just the way you are. Here you do not need to be something more or something less. No holding back, no hiding, no exerting yourself, no trying to do more or be more. You have inherent worth and dignity. Nothing to prove here. Nothing to prove to me, the person sitting next to you, or to the children, or to anyone. You don't have to try and be witty, or more quiet, or more outgoing. You are beautiful, every part of you beautiful, just the way you are. You do not need to change anything about yourself to be welcome here. Your skin, your hair, your belly, your limbs, your face, all beautiful, just the way they are. You are extraordinary. Each and every one of you different from each and beautiful in your own beautiful way. Breathtaking. Let's worship together. Please rise and let's join together in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church and service its law. This is our covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And if you want to remain standing, you may, or if you're more comfortable being seated, that's fine. We're going to sing our opening hymn, Sing Out Praises. It's number 295 in the hymnal. Thank you so much, and you all may be seated. I put in here this time for all ages because our young people are with us, and today we are collecting, let's see, is that better? Today we are collecting the guest at your table boxes or checks that you wrote, or however that's going to be gathered. And but we have a video from the Guest at Your Table program that is our Time for All Ages this morning, and it's a thank you for your contribution to the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee and the work that they do.
you so much for your participation in this year's Guest at Your Table program. With all of the adaptation, uncertainty, and sorrow this year has brought us, your congregation is acting as a beacon of hope and solidarity for all the grassroots partners around the world. Guest at Your Table is a long-standing tradition in our congregations and provides a unique opportunity every year to get to know some of our partners on a deeper level. Learning someone's story can be a sacred act. It is one that we celebrate here at Guest at Your Table. With your support, you are helping to ensure that UUSC's commitment to advancing human rights and resisting oppression can rise to meet this moment. Thank you for saying yes to the world we see, a world filled with more justice and more compassion for everyone, a world that recognizes the inherent dignity and power in each and every person. Thank you for being an integral part of UUSC. We are your service committee, and we could not do this without you. Thank you.
We also take up an offering for the work of this church, and it is only the spirit of generosity that allows us to continue to work toward our greatest goals of providing a community that offers to the larger community words of hope, justice, and compassion. And so it is in that spirit of generosity that our offering this morning will be given and received. And now we will sing our children to their religious education activities. Is Laura going to help us do that?
Yes. Go
Now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. And thank you all for being with us this morning, and have a wonderful time. So every Sunday we lift up the joys and sorrows shared within our community, and Paula will light candles for those joys and sorrows. I just received one from Marianne, and she says that a friend who is already in very seriously bad health now has COVID. We are so sorry to hear that. Just a really sad and difficult situation right now with this one transmitting so rapidly. If anybody who's already, in a compromised situation, it's pretty darn scary. So we will certainly hold your friend in our hearts.
Dolly is out of the hospital.
Right, yeah. I did not forget about Dolly. I went to see Dolly yesterday, Dolly Berthelot. First of all, she wanted me to convey to Leslie and Kate how much she appreciated their visit and their help that day. Dolly's feeling pretty discouraged. She was in the hospital right after Christmas. She's been sick since before Christmas, and it's not like an illness, it's not COVID, but just several, like she's kind of feeling like all systems are down right now. And so any way that you typically reach out, I think would really be appreciated. She's not real excited about a lot of people coming to visit because she's worried about the virus, but I think if you send cards, emails, text messages, and I think she's going to need some help. So maybe offer, if you can, in some way, so she'll know that it's okay to call on you. She's weak, she's on oxygen 100% of the time, and it's discouraging. So let's hold Dolly in our hearts also. I had a really good visit with her though yesterday, and she is still able to appreciate the beautiful view that she has out of her window. So I say that's a good spirit in her, to still be able to take in the beauty and the joy of the world, even in such a compromised condition. I think for all of the joys and sorrows still remaining in our hearts yet unspoken, we'll light one last candle. Thank you, Paula. So we're already a very welcoming congregation, right? So why do we need to jump through more of the UUA hoops to be officially recognized as a welcoming congregation? Well, here's one reason. I looked at maps of Florida and Alabama put out by the Institute for Welcoming Resources, not a UU institute. They have a page where people can go to find officially recognized, welcome and affirming congregations in their area. A lot of congregations add the word affirming. It has a kind of special meaning in certain contexts. And different denominations also have their own language. Some are more light. Different denominations use a different way, but there's a way that certain denominations, all of them, make it evident that they are welcoming and affirming. So they take steps. They go through an education process to be certified in a way so that they have the right to say that they've done the work it takes to be recognized in that way. It's not just accepting, but welcoming, affirming, and inclusive in all aspects of congregational life that's important. Members of oppressed groups, any oppressed group, they need to feel and know that a congregation is aware of their issues and that they are welcome as their full selves. No one wants to have to ask if they're welcome, nor do they want to feel that someone is making assumptions about them. So when I click on Florida, I see that along the Panhandle, Pensacola has one welcoming congregation listed. It's Holy Cross Metropolitan Community Church on Fairfield. You may know it by the letters MCC. MCC churches are all around the country, and they don't have to go through a process because their church is a process. They are built, created to serve the LGBTQ communities. The next closest welcoming congregation listed is the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Emerald Coast in Valparaiso, and then the UU Fellowship of Bay County in Panama City. On the Alabama side, Mobile does not seem to have the official designation either. The listed congregations in Alabama are Montgomery, Auburn, Birmingham, Huntsville. They're all on this map. Now, I happen to know that Tuscaloosa has the logo on their website. Maybe they didn't notify the Institute. So the designation that goes on your website, if you fill out the application and you show that you've completed the program, is a very nice logo with a rainbow flag and a chalice in front of it, and it's got the letters LGBTQ welcoming congregation underneath it in very bright colors. So if someone moves to Pensacola and is looking for an intentionally welcoming congregation, they would not find us on that map, and they would not see that logo on our website. And I have heard that this was of concern to at least a couple of people who checked us out after moving to Pensacola. So if for no other reason than to make sure that our message of inclusivity is reflected in our publications, I think that the extra work is worthwhile. We don't really know how many people might have checked the list or looked on our website and not seen the logo and decided to give us a pass. The next point I'd like to make is that filling out the application for becoming an officially recognized welcoming congregation, we get credit for all that we've done and any work or intentional efforts that we have made or are already making toward becoming welcoming. And there are many. There are things we do in the community, there are things we do here. We have now a welcoming committee chaired by Laura Keith King, and that committee is assessing where we are on this journey and what else needs to be addressed. The goal is to receive recognition for what's been done and to examine where we might need to do a little catching up on expectations, needs, or developing research and knowledge. A paragraph on the website of the River of Grass UU congregation down around Miami reads, "We think it is important to be welcoming not only of LGBTQ, TGBQ people, but of all people, including and not limited to," and I think this is important for us to remember, people of different genders, gender identities, races, ethnicities, ages, and abilities, as well as sexual orientation. And if any of the letters in LGBTQIAN+ or TGQNB are new to you, you might be interested in some of the educational components of the Welcoming Congregation program. I know I learned a few things preparing this sermon for us. There is some interesting history to be gained leading up to the Welcoming Congregation program, and now the Welcoming Congregation Renewal program for the people who applied many years ago. Just by noting the various resolutions and names of the office developed to study beliefs and attitudes and offer education to Unitarian Universalist congregation over the years, you can see what we've learned. And since I've been around for all these years, I've watched all these name changes happen, and sometimes I had to laugh, like from the first one to the second one a little bit. In 1971, Reverend Richard Nash and Elgin Blair co-founded the UU Gay Caucus to lobby for the creation of an Office of Gay Affairs. In 1973, a General Assembly resolution called for the creation of the Office of Gay Affairs to be a resource to the denomination on matters pertaining to gay people and the gay community. The 1974 General Assembly created funding for the office. In 1975, Arlie Scott was hired as the first director of the office. She was not UU and was not invited to speak in a UU congregation for more than a year and a half. In 1977, the name was changed from the Office of Gay Affairs to the Office of Gay Concerns. That's the part that made me laugh years ago. In 1986, the name was changed again to the office of lesbian and gay concerns. You see, we're widening the circle. We're opening our minds a little more. And in 1993, the name was changed to the Office of Lesbian, Bisexual, and Gay Concerns. And Meg Riley, who maybe you know from Church of the Larger Fellowship, she's absolutely a phenomenal woman who's been, a leader in UU for a long time, and I believe she's, like me, is a lifelong UU. She was the office's 5th director and became the first one to be employed full-time. Then in 1996, transgender was added to the office's title, and the various identities were alphabetized. Office of Bisexual, Gay, Lesbian, and Transgender Concerns, or OBGLTC. So you see, we've been growing all along. In 2010, the name was changed to LGBT Ministries. And I think that's what it still is. In 2012, queer was added. A lot of us had to get used to that because that was not an okay word to use at some point. And the name became Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, and Queer Ministries, or LGBTQ Ministries. In 1987, the Unitarian Universalist Association established the Common Vision Planning Committee, a diverse group of clergy and laity from around the North Alabama continent that was tasked with collecting information about how welcomed and accepted gay, lesbian, bisexual persons felt in the Unitarian Universalist congregations. Although the Unitarian Universalist Association had been on record since 1970 as supporting the rights and worth of lesbian, gay, and bisexual persons, the lived experience of these people in UU congregations spoke a different, painful truth. The committee published a report that exposed many negative attitudes, deep prejudices, and profound ignorance about bisexual, gay, and lesbian people. And that resulted in the exclusion, this attitude of bisexual, gay, and lesbian people from UU congregations. You wouldn't believe that, would you? This reality troubled many people who were committed to making UU congregations welcoming and inclusive places for all people, especially minority groups who have traditionally experienced exclusion, discrimination, and misrepresentation within our society. Citing the principles of our UU faith, especially the one that affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person, the 1989 General Assembly voted to initiate the Welcoming Congregation Program recommended by the Common Vision Planning Committee. Now, these are words from them. In short order, the Welcoming Congregation Handbook was developed, edited by Reverend Scott Alexander, Director of the Office of Lesbian and Gay Concerns, with the help of many diverse contributors. The first edition of the handbook was released in 1990 and brought together 10 workshops and other resources for helping congregations intentionally take steps to welcome people of all sexual orientations. New editions of the handbook were released in 1995, 99, 2002, and the 1999 edition was revised with the editorial work of Reverend Meg Riley and Reverend Keith Cron. Some of you may know that name. Keith's been around for a really long time. We were at a youth conference as adult advisors together back in 1993, I believe, but he's like the head of the ministry department now for new ministers. So it was edited to be more inclusive of transgender identity, bisexual identity, and race, ethnicity, and sexuality, among other things. And they added 4 workshops: racism and homophobia / heterosexism, the radical right, bisexuality and biphobia, and transgender identity, what it means. Since the Welcoming Congregation Handbook had not been updated since 2002 and much has changed in the lives of LGBTQ people, it was discontinued in 2014. And although in the early years of the program, the handbook may have been treated in and of itself as the Welcoming Congregation Program, this is no longer the case, as there are so many resources out there now from the UUA and other places. And the program is meant to be custom designed by members of a particular congregation to take their unique needs and situation into account. So that's what Laura and our welcoming congregation team will be doing. They'll study the resources, they'll get input from the congregation, and they'll move forward a step at a time, recognizing that this is the work of the whole congregation, not just the committee. And after reviewing the material for the application to be recognized as a welcoming congregation, I think the main task of the committee will be to note all the ways that this congregation is already fulfilling expectations through congregational life, education, and community outreach. Although this conversation has actually been happening here for many years, the moment we are experiencing right now in the world around us feels to me like a critical time to take an intentional, observable, theological stance on Unitarian Universalism and our principle to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We are frightfully aware of the backlash of hate and bigotry perpetrated by the far-right Christian evangelism or evangelicalism, and that it's gaining such a stronghold in our country and in our politics. Our memories of January 6, 2021 were powerfully refreshed on Thursday as attention turned to the anniversary of that violent insurrection, and President Biden brought back vivid images of the attack on our Capitol and our democratic process that defends the right of the people to vote, to elect their officials. An article in Religion Dispatches by the Reverend Dr. Serene Jones warns, now notice this is a Reverend Doctor, warns that January 6th will just be the beginning if we don't counter far-right Christianity. Dr. Jones is president of Union Theological Seminary, a globally recognized graduate school of religion devoted to putting faith into practice for the common good. That's what we do. As a theologian, she writes, the idea that insurrectionists terrorized the Capitol would claim the moral force of God is horrifying. The actions of those rioters were the furthest thing from the values of compassion and love that I've taken, she writes, from the teachings of Jesus. Many of you know that I'm good friends with a number of clergy, mainstream clergy, people in Huntsville, Alabama, Presbyterian, Baptist, Methodist. Those people that are my friends are also horrified to see what's happening with the Christian right. And they can't stand that they might be painted with that same brush. So we are in friendship, in solidarity with many ministers of mainline denominations who are tremendously disturbed by what's happening. And they are wondering what can they do to change the attitude, the environment within their own denominations. We've also seen a swell, I think this is her continuing to write, we've also seen a swell of extremist legislation in state legislatures, all under the guise of defending Christianity. And this is where I think the welcoming congregation fits with what's happening. Politicians claiming to be compelled by God have implemented a barrage of measures to condemn transgender people, suppress voters of color, and strip women of their reproductive freedom. To defeat the Christian far right and literally save our democracy, we as faith leaders and members of faith communities, she writes, must actively organize to reclaim our faith as a force of good and for love. Our God is not one of hatred. Far-right Christianity is a sickness that will continue plaguing our politics and will ultimately kill our democracy if not immediately, urgently challenged. Silence or passive liberal head-shaking is not enough. A devastating theological crisis is upon us now. Faith leaders must speak up loudly for equality and true justice, and to expose the deadly lies of those who use theology for destruction. when I read her words, I thought, that's a message for us as well. And we might have different faiths among us, but we are a church people, we are a faith group, and we have a voice. And one of the ways that we recognize who we are is the ways that we welcome people into our community. And I do want to make sure that we understand that we really are talking about welcoming all people, but there's always a time to pay attention to a particular population of oppressed people. And I hope that we look at, this in many different ways from different angles, in different ways that we see things happening in society that are disturbing to us. One of the ways we do that is through Just Pensacola, because we know that Just Pensacola is looking out for a population of people that is oppressed as well. People that end up in the criminal justice system unfairly. So that's what I came to say today. And I hope that our congregation will get on board and help Laura and the committee do the work that they need to do, that they want to do. And I wanted to sort of wrap this section up with a song that it's sung in many circles. Once Libby Roderick wrote this song, it just was grabbed up by lots and lots of groups who wanted to express the sentiment of feeling loved and feeling valued and feeling worthwhile. And so it's been used in that way in many gatherings, especially women's gatherings and a lot of LGBTQ plus gatherings. And Princess Diana even wore a t-shirt with the lyrics to work out in the gym. And the words are, "How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul." Let us sing. Okay, so I've buried my order of service. Yeah, I'll probably do it.
Closing order.
Yeah, good. That's what I need. Thank you. Oh, yes. wasn't really buried, it was right there all along. I just got moved by that song and then I couldn't think straight. So the purpose of this community is to help its people grow. That's the title of these closing words by Eric Walker Wilkstrom. Oh, here, let me do this, sorry. The purpose of this community is to help its people grow. If you are who you were, and if the person next to you is who they were, if none of us has changed since the day we came in here, we have failed. The purpose of this community, of any church, temple, mosque, zendo, is to help its people grow. We do this through encounters with the unknown, in ourselves, in one another, in the other, whoever that might be for us, however hard that might be, because these encounters have many gifts to offer. So may you go forth from here this morning, not who you were, but who you could be. So may we all. And our closing hymn is number 170. We are a gentle, angry people, and it's number 170 in your hymnal. And with intention, and let us all be safe. May it be so.